Hello guys, today we're gonna do XAW Nitro. This is the first show that we're doing that isn't gonna be tied to the week format, so that's gonna make things a little interesting here. Alright. Some XAW action here. It's been a minute. Got some booked matches coming up here. First off we got XAW title match here. King's going to be defending against Candy Cane here. Where is she? Oh wait, is she in developmental? XAW. Hey Gray Man, how you doing? 30. Alright, let's see how it goes here.
Let's have some fun. Hanging around. Let's go play fast and loud.
One more hour? Yeah, I had to work earlier today. I'm doing okay. been very chaotic week and a half, so I'm trying to sneak in stuff as I go. Right now, I'm gonna see how many of those wrestlers in Legends League I'm gonna convert over TWN style before I crack and just go half and do half work on some of them, because I got the first 3. I'm working on Shono now. He's the first one. I haven't finished him yet. Kind of. You see, some wrestlers are easier than others, because some you can kind of like figure it out pretty easily. There's a lot on there. Sometimes there's too much, to the point where you have to pick and choose which moves to keep and which to not. And then there's some that barely have any, and then you gotta try to find ones to just plug in places. It's tricky to, it's very tricky to find one in that in-between category that just has the right amount of stuff. Usually wrestlers like that are usually wrestlers that are kind of more like 90s, 2000s. Because when you get the older wrestlers, like, a lot of their big moves are like medium, small moves in this game. So it's kind of makes it tricky to balance them out with the other wrestlers. Because you don't want to, because you need... Pro. Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, it's just... The thing with Chono, the only problem I'm having with Chono right now is just like move research, because the moves are there. It just seems like the only top ones people talk about is the Kenka kit and the STF, and it's hard. There's not really any moveset videos of him, so it's kind of hard, because one page says kneeling double underhook power bomb, but I don't know what that is or what it even looks like, and I can't find anything about it.
2.
Hi Eli, how you doing? Yeah, and yeah, I could base it on like other Fire Pro stuff, but I don't know. I mean, one thing I learned about wrestling games is that they could have all the axes and first dibs on a wrestler in the world, and they could still get the moveset wrong. I mean, look at some of the No Mercy, look at No Mercy.
5 minutes gone.
Better, yeah. But yes, from now on, shows aren't going to count in weeks. It's going to be kind of a free-for-all. Really, for this season at least, the only thing that'll end the season is if a promotion hits 250 popularity points. So, if you want your shows in, definitely book them first and foremost. Yeah, it is kind of a running big boot. I think the difference, though, is with the Yakuza kick, you kind of put more emphasis forward. With the kick, with a running big boot, I mean, really the best example of that is Test. Test kind of perfected the running big boot. Yeah, of course. Octopus hold. Yeah, definitely. Just bear. Yeah, I only catch that because I've done my research into developing wrestlers for this game has become very enthralling, and it's very easy to notice the little things. I mean, it's made it a lot harder to move through wrestlers fast. Ooh, look at that. Got interference.
2.
But
3.
it made it easier to like get guys more on the
6.
The only issue with it too is that then it makes the older ones feel dated, my first models I converted, and then I have to kind of go back and make them a little better. And that's kind of a whole nother project there.
Minutes gone.
Figure 4. He taps, King retains. ugh, that's gonna cost some popularity points there. Oof. King solidifies more dominance here, being top guy in XAW still. Now next we got some tag action going on. The tag title's on the line. Um, I gotta experiment, in all honesty, because the plan is with the round robin for Legends League is the speed. I gotta experiment because it's either gonna be 175 or 200. I'm not sure yet. CPU level, I don't really plan on changing that. Um, time, it's either gonna be 10 or 15. I want to see how it looks with 10, but it might end up being 15. I'm also gonna have a ref that's a speed demon on everything. So we'll see. My goal, I expect more ties than normal, but it's still kind of wins and losses too. Because ties are fine in the round robin, but once we get to the playoffs, then there definitely needs to be like winners and losers. Because if it ties, then we just repeat the match. Yeah, it depends on how things work out. I got to do some experimenting because if I can get a full decent match in 10 minutes quick style, I'll go with 10 minutes because it's going to be a lot of matches and I kind of want to move it at a decent pace because what kind of killed the first attempt last time around was just taking too long to get through stuff. Yeah, like the new wrestlers, I'm going to try to do the 226 point. I'm going to try to do all of them. Last I counted was about 37, and that's a lot for what I do. So I'm going to see how many I can do within a span of time, and if it becomes obvious that I'm not going to complete it, then I'll kind of do a half it. Because what takes the most time by far is the move sets, getting move sets as accurate as possible. And that takes the most time. So at some point, if I decide it's taking too long, I'll just do the point attribute stuff and save the moveset stuff till for over time. I don't know if I'll do it during the league open or not, if the game lets me. I'm tempted to, but I'm kind of worried that I might mess up like stuff with it, but in all honesty, it would just benefit them more than anything. So that's what I'll probably do. But I want to see how many I can do before I reach that breaking point. Which so far is a half a one right now. So, okay, tag titles. Glacier and Rumi are going to be defending them against Kyo and Shingo. All right, see how it goes. But also, the plan is after Legends League is to spin that off into kind of like I don't know how often it'll be, but kind of like a show kind of thing where the plan is to have whoever makes the playoffs, which I think the max amount we could do is 12. Like have the 12 guys be like the founding roster people. And then have the rest of the card we do on our show just be random match requests for anybody, for anything. We'll even have, like, random titles can be featured, like WCW Hardcore title or anything. Just kind of have it be a free-for-all. It'll kind of serve as kind of like a loose like match request show because I know I get requests for those sometimes and I kind of feel bad for not doing more of those, but it's kind of hard to make time for those when you got so many other projects going on. So that's kind of the way we're going to turn it into. I do plan on doing like a fantasy wrestler Legends League thing, kind of a counterpart to Legends League. The only thing I can say for that one is I don't plan on as many wrestlers for that one. That one will probably be a lot smaller in count. And go from there. I don't plan on doing tag teams. Just because there's not really a lot of like pure tag teams. A lot of tag teams are just guys that are more known for single stuff, or stables, or more in stables. Like there's not a lot of like pure ones like the Road Warriors or Demolition. There's not a ton of those.
Yes, sir.
So I probably won't do tag teams, but I wouldn't be against tag team matchups when we do the spin-off show at the same time. But I'll develop more about that as we get closer to that. But that's kind of the plan. Turning into a loose channel update. Man, I should do one, but I will say I'm not gonna be doing as much as in October as I originally planned. Yeah, you could do tag teams in the league thing in this game. You certainly can. It's just I just don't think there's enough of like pure tag teams. But to justify something like that. And in all honesty, like it would be very hard to do fast matches with tag teams, especially in this game, because tag team matches in this game do take longer than singles matches. I mean, typically tag team matches do, usually. But in this game it does feel a lot longer. Like, yeah. You got a lot of pure tag teams. You got a lot of tag teams. Yeah. I mean, even with some of those teams, you could argue are part of stables. Like the New Age Outlaws, you could argue are like part of DX. But yeah, you got the most pure tag teams. I mean, I guess if you really dig, you could find enough to do maybe like a very small league thing, but I don't think it's worth it. And to be honest, I just kind of think that even if we do decide to do something like that, I don't want to really do it immediately, because I think because after we do the Legends League, and even if we do the Fantasy Legends League, I kind of want to take a break from that. Because I love doing league events. That's probably my favorite thing to do with the Fire Pro game, but they take a long time to do. And it also is a little nerve-wracking sometimes, because when you go into it, if you click start instead of continue, it'll erase the whole thing, and you don't have multiple slave slots. So it's kind of one of those things where I like to try to do them as quickly as possible, because if you make one mistake, it's all done. Well, it's 32 per block, so you could do like 32. I gotta check. Maybe they cut it to 16. But if you could do 32 tag teams per block, you could do 128 tag teams, which is insane. I mean, you really gotta love tag team wrestling.
Wow.
10 minutes gone.
Powerbomb counter. But yeah, I think that, oh, I forgot. Here's the rest of the matches on this card here. I usually say that earlier, but I got caught up in thought. Is Rio versus Batsu, then Felicia versus Blue Mary, then Angel versus King. I guess King's doing double duty, I guess. The main event's gonna have Mai and Kula go up against each other in the bars, so a little hardcore action later on. But yeah, I know there's some 2K24 people out there. I still plan on doing RCW stuff. I was on a roll with converting those guys over to 2K24, but I kind of hit like but I kind of hit kind of like a pause, like kind of a kind of conversion block in that game. Plus I kind of was starting to miss Fire Pro a little bit. We took a big break in Fire Pro this year. On a kick there. Yeah, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting how, yeah, because for TWN stuff, once we conclude this season, I'm gonna have to see how many people are still wanting to continue with TWN stuff, because I know there's quite a few people. Oh, we got new champions. Quite a few people that are kind of looking to kind of take a break from it, so next season might be a little different than I originally planned, but we'll have to see. I might have to do a lot of reconstructing. I swear, every season I say, no, this is going to be small stuff. There's not going to be any major stuff, but I always go back on it every season. Oh, man. One day, we're going to get into a season. There's barely going to be any changes from the last season. It's just, seasons' lengths can vary, and, ideas pop up, new ways of doing things, and it's, get experimental and stuff. See, Ryo and Batsu. No, and yeah, well, I think the reason why I added so much the last couple seasons was I was trying to get people stuff to get into, because I was kind of feeling like people were starting to kind of not be as challenged, and I was trying to find ways to make things interesting to get easier to invest in, but I think with the benefit of hindsight, I kind of wish I did things, because for example, like the 2 promotion stuff. Oh, I bet it was Eli. But for example, like the 2 promotion stuff, because the original idea was to have it be like 2 shows, like brands, and be under one promotion name, people people just wanted to do 2 different promotions, which was fine at the time, but in benefit of hindsight, I kind of wish instead of like a promotion, it'd be just a whole developmental show, and just have be developmental and then main promotion. That probably would have been the better way to go about it in hindsight, but yeah, and that's kind of, yeah, and I kind of want to try to get back to that a little bit. It's just when we first started, there was a lot of like stuff certain people wanted to do that haven't been explored yet, so I kind of went through a run of trying to add as much scenario stuff as possible so people who did want to do certain things could. It's just I probably overdid it because there's a lot of stuff like in the guidebook, TWN guidebook, that I don't think anyone has done. So it's just one of those things where I think at some point I'm gonna have to see how people want TWN actually structured, because even though I love, like, I kind of want to put as much into it as possible to create like as authentic as like a booking thing experience as possible. There's only so much we can do with the format we have, because at the end of the day, we're just watching sim matches and calculating results and stuff. So a lot of that extra stuff we kind of have to come up with on our own. And when you have the energy for that, it's fantastic. But if you're really drained on energy, you just don't have it in ya. And it's just not, but it's easier to have that energy when you're doing it with lots of people. But if everyone's feeling drained, then you're probably going to feel drained as well. Let's see, Rio and Batsu. That's who I'm missing, Batsu, right up here. All right, let's see how it goes. But yeah, and that's kind of what I'm gonna try to do with the Legends League show. Just kind of let it be, just be buck wild, with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I gotta. But after the season, I'm gonna have to see what we're gonna do with TWN stuff because I feel like what happened with TWN is what's kind of happened over time is that there's really two classes of bookers in TWN. There's guys that do just do matchups they feel like watching and see how it works, and then there's people that get intricate with stories and stuff. And I think it just makes it kind of tough for both, kind of, with this format, because the story stuff pretty much has to play out through text, and that can take a lot of work. And at the same time, you just do random matchups, then you're just kind of doing random matchups, you know? But I wish there was a thing in this game where you can kind of create like very kind of loose text-based cutscenes or something like that, because I feel like if you could do that, I know there's some YouTubers who do Fire Pro stuff, kind of do a lot of computer modding stuff to do it, but it's a lot of work. Because they did it for a bit, but then they started slowing, and they haven't done one in years because it's just too much work. And that's kind of the opposite end of how I would do it, because and that's kind of the reason why I haven't really switched to laptop stuff yet either, because I'm kind of in a mindset of if I want to do something, I want to do it right away, because if I dance with it for too long, I'm going to lose the momentum. Well, and that's the thing, it is a lot of work. Does it add to it, though? It certainly does. It's just, I don't know. I just wish there was a way to kind of, because for promotions that want to do story stuff, I know it adds a bit to have stories play out on screen to a certain extent. It's just, this game isn't just built for that. This is a straight up, like, sporty match thing. But you know, but here's the deal. If anything, if people do want to get into the stories, they could always join the Discord and read what's going on. Yeah, exactly. Ooh, look at that.
5 minutes gone.
Yeah, and if I had the skills, I would probably do more. I will say this, I'm probably more inclined to do stuff like that if I was just doing one overall show with specific amount of wrestlers. But the problem with doing it like that is you're kind of putting yourself in a corner of, you know, only doing those kinds. So if there's people who want to see other ones, it's kind of, it makes it a little messy. Oh my god, it'd be so much work. To be honest, oh, moonsault. The only way we could do those kind of stuff if everyone had the game, everyone booked their own shows and aired them on YouTube and did their own work. It would have to be like a group effort, and that's just Tiger Driver, and I don't really think that's a very expectable thing. It'd work with like a few individuals. Like if we were gonna do BWN stuff with like 2 to 4 people, it'd be doable. But it's just one of those things where if we're gonna do stuff like that, it has to already be in the game, you know? If it's not in the game, then you might as well just read it off on a teleprompter on the stream, and it would have virtually the same effect, although I will say, I wish I could do these type of streams with with a color commentator, because that would add a lot, and especially if they can do like impersonations. There's this guy on Retro Sports Gamer channel who did stuff live with the guys quite a bit. I think his name is Furniture Consortium, and he could do wrestler impersonations like perfectly without any hardly any effort. And doing something like this with somebody like that would add so much, but that's a process in itself. Yeah, I thought about that too, having like someone like watch a stream and commentate as we go. Yeah, the second delay can be tricky. Oh, look at that, Knockout Punch does it. Especially if it's one of those nights where the stream breaks. You know, that could really mess things up. So I think, or on the odd instance where the game crashes. I got an 87, not bad. Next match is Felicia and Blue Mary. Yeah, I think it's just tough. And also the other thing too is, if you're gonna do it consistently, then you have to work with schedules and stuff. And my schedule is just so chaotic when it comes to like being able to stream, especially lately, that it's just one of those things where if it becomes like a commitment, like it's gonna be 2 people from now on, it could slow things down a lot. And if they're doing like a single project, that'd be great. But with something like TWN, that would slow. Yeah, that would work too, because what you could do, and still, because what you could do, like at least with the tools I have, is you could record stuff, play it on a TV, and live stream that on YouTube with, because what I'm thinking is I could record a show, live stream it on YouTube through my laptop, and because if I could play it on my TV through, geez, I don't know, I'm trying to think. Yeah, man, I don't know how it would work. I would almost have to upload it to YouTube unlisted, play it, and stream it with commentary. I mean, it would work. It's a lot of steps. It would be great for like a single show, but it would definitely be a commitment. And the thing with those is that at some point you're going to kind of wave the white flag a little bit and be like, okay, we need to end this. We can't keep doing this. This is too much work. And that always kind of sucks, because there's always more you can do, but at the same time, at some point, you got to pull. Yeah. Yeah, it's easier with computer. It's just I have never figured out with my computer. I tried doing like OBS and all that, and I don't know. It's like there's just one thing. It's just like there's always like a couple things posted to YouTube. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I gotta pick Felicia and Blue Mary. I don't know what I'm saying. Let's see. Right here. Alright, perfect. Let's try that out. Yeah, and that's the thing too, because at some point I would like to stream through OBS, like, or record through that, like how most YouTubers do. It's just, I'm just missing certain equipments for it, and I just don't have the time or money to like get it. And the computer stuff just escapes me. Like, I feel like I'm so close to getting it, but there's just something I don't know, like, I follow these videos about, like, that kind of stuff, and then, like, modding and all that, and then there's just, and then at some point there's a step where where they have you do a thing that is completely different from the computer you have, and it just throws everything off, and you just kind of, you know, it's just so hard to, like, find, like, videos for stuff that have exact step-by-step thing to what you have with your computer. There's always, like, something that's a little different. And I'm just not good enough with computers to kind of figure it out. I'm just not. That's why my channel has been the way it's been for several years overall. But the craziest thing to me is there's never really been any complaints about it, because at some point I was thinking, okay, at some point people are gonna watch my stuff and be like, and they're gonna, and there has been a couple commentators who really made it known they don't like the way I record stuff, but you know, at some point when you're doing, because when I first started this channel, it's because I really wanted to do YouTube. But at the time, I couldn't figure out how other YouTubers did the stuff they did. And I kind of made the decision of either I spend forever trying to figure it out, not knowing when I'll figure out, and when I do figure out, what I'll need to actually do it. And Lord knows if I still have momentum when that happens, or I could just hotshot it, you know, kind of be clever with stuff, or quote-unquote clever, and just go from there. And that's the path I went, because I'd rather do stuff with the momentum and energy than wait too long and lose it. And I feel like that's a mistake that a lot of new YouTubers make, is that they think that they have to be exactly like the big guns. And they think it'll pay off if they do, and it doesn't all the time. I mean, for some guys it does, but to be honest, it's tougher now, I feel like, than it was when I started, because now you have to follow a formula to how you run your channel in order to be big. And I'm kind of I'm against it. I feel like YouTubers should be able to just do whatever they want on their channel and should have the same chance of success as someone who only does one or two specific things. But that's not how YouTube is anymore. And it's kind of a shame, but it is what it is. A lot of submission moves from Blue Mary here. But if anyone that asked me, like, if they want to do YouTube, what should they do? And I just say, like, find something you want to do that you love, and just take what you got and just do what you can. Like, I say, if you're just starting on YouTube, don't spend any money, because this is a hobby. This is going to be a hobby for you. This isn't going to be a career. Trying to be like a big-time YouTuber is like the equivalent of trying to be a rock star in the 80s. You know, the odds aren't in your favor. Oh, the chat just doubled there. So, and just do what you can. Like, do it with passion, and don't obsess over stuff like, oh, it has to look like this or that. You know, I wouldn't obsess over that stuff. Would it be good stuff to achieve over time if you get to that point? Sure. I mean, hell, even if you have people who know how to get stuff to look a certain way and they help you with that, definitely accept that. But, but at least for me, I'm happy I started when I did and how I did. It's just one of those things where there's definitely things in hindsight that I do now that I wish I did then. Oh, look at that far moonsault, but the rope breaks it up. But, you know, it's part of the learning process, float over DDT, when you get started. Because my videos from, it's funny because my most popular videos are from like when I first started YouTube.
1, 2,
oh, Asai moonsault.
3.
And everyone who watches those things, that's the whole channel, and it really isn't. It's evolved a lot since then. A lot of interference tonight here.
10, 11, 12, 13.
Like, oh man, I used to say things on the channel when I first started, like information and stuff about sports games that was completely wrong. And man, oh, it makes me laugh sometimes, because, oh, she makes her tap. And Mary kind of had the odd stack against her. 84. The semi-main event, Angel and King face off. All right, let's see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, thank God I can do some streaming like this on YouTube, though. But yeah, but I will say, if you do have the ability to stream, don't be afraid to stream, because I love streaming, because you get to talk to people. And it makes it easier with the video process, because you could edit streams, but I really don't, because the format of what I'm going for with a lot of this stuff is more like just straight up and not anything fancy. But with recording stuff, because the way I do it is I record through my phone when I do record stuff, and then I have to upload it to my computer. Well, no, I don't have to upload it to my computer. I upload it to YouTube, and then I gotta edit and do a bunch of stuff. It's not a lot of work, but when you do something like that for like literally years, it gets old after a while. It just does. And editing isn't my forte. It really isn't. Like, if I had the money, I would definitely benefit a lot with a full editor, especially one that can edit as I do videos. Figure 4. But yeah, I'll talk more about stream schedule towards the end of this video, the stream, but I will say that I do plan on streaming tomorrow. It's going to be a bit earlier in the day. It's going to be some Madden 2005. I don't really have a lot of wrestling stuff lined up at the moment. I kind of done all of my TWN stuff I have planned in the short term. I do plan on doing more HWH episodes. I don't know if I'm going to do more IGW episodes though. I know I'm going to do at least one more pay-per-view, Hollow Slam 3, later this month. Actually, it could be anytime this month, but I do want to do some episodes of stuff before I do another pay-per-view. Or Octopus Holding.
One.
10 the season. I mean, at some point, somebody's got to hit the 250. Well, there we go. Good. Thank God. I know he's done. Star Fox, I haven't heard anything from Star Fox, but I can assume that he might be too busy to do more. DPS, I know he's too busy too. So that's like, that's 5 promotions right there. That's probably not going to be doing anything. I mean, I'll do a few things, but I'm probably not going to go too crazy just because I got other stuff to work on. Thanks for that warning, internet connection quality. Um, I know you'll do some stuff, and Hank is kind of a wild card right now because I know he's still in it with his stuff, and I let him know we resumed, but yeah, I get ya. I will say the max shows in this format is 8 per season, so you could do up to 8. But yeah, because currently, I know I just posted the standings. I will say that if you want to earn a lot of stuff, definitely do pay-per-views though, because the way pay-per-views are now, King with the win, you can earn a lot. I mean, yeah, I mean, it'll be open as long as 250 isn't hit. 70 ends with a DDT, alright. Main event time in the Barbs. Promotions. Let's see. Yeah, because right now, XAW currently has 136. HWH has 106. SWA has 87. SWE has 22. That's in the East. In the Central, IGW has 116. FTOA has 92, TWL has 48, and GSW has 35. And then in the West, PCCW has 140, TBF has 46, SCW has 39, and UPW has 33. Well, it's from all the belt winnings. I think from the belt stuff, because you went through a streak of like, because we still did the pay-per-views even though we didn't do shows, the TWN pay-per-views, and we did all the belt stuff, and your guys held on to belts for a while, so that added a lot. Let's see. Ooh, I almost forgot to mention, because TWN is resumed. Kinda. I mean, All Stars has been on break too. Grapplecates has been retired. More like the monthly big 10-match TWN events. All Stars, I actually do plan on resuming All Stars on the 10th, or the week of the 10th, roughly. I will say though, with next season, if we keep the format I'm shooting for, we probably won't do All Stars anymore. It'll probably be something else. But it depends, because if we come back with a few people and few promotions, it may be a little bit different than what I originally planned with 12 promotions. Well, that's the idea, because the idea is originally with the 12 promotions is each division will be under its name umbrella. Like Central was MPW. So each division will have like an overall show, like an 8-match show. So MPW this or that or whatever. And each promotion will get 2 matches, one match from their main roster and one match from their developmental roster. And the overalls would compete with each other for tops of the card and rewards and stuff. And then that'd be about 8 matches per thing. And those would be so you would only be required to do 2 matches. And the shows 8-match pay-per-views and 10-match pay-per-views will all be optional. They'll all be on the optional card. And the way the season would end would be a combination of hitting a goal of popularity points and the conclusion of whatever cycle the division thing is on. So if a promotion hits 250 and we just started the 8th cycle of divisional shows, then the divisional shows have to complete, and then it'll be concluded. So it's a combination of stuff. That's the original idea. Yeah, it's kind of a combination of what we kind of do now and what we did when we first started TWN. It's kind of a combination of the two. Um, so really, instead of requiring like a bunch of stuff, you only be required to do 2 shows. The only other thing I can think of is, but like I said, like if a bunch of people pull out next season, then we're gonna have to reconstruct your stuff. So if we lose 5 promotions out of 12, then that's 7. and and to be honest, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards, if it does go that far, I might be tempted to reconstruct more stuff, because if it's 7 promotions, but like 3 people own 2 of them out of the 7, I might have to rethink how we're doing things, because that's a lot of like I don't know. That's a lot of extra work for something that's kind of in the same line. So I'll have to see how we get through some stuff. But I don't know. By the time we get to the conclusion, maybe everyone's back on board again. So it's something to kind of think. Yeah, because the plan the plan for that off season, I was gonna experiment with this off season too. Is instead of a playoff format, it was gonna be a league format. But I decided to save it till next season because I didn't want to have that like conflict with the Legends League. That's why for this season there's going to be like best of 5 rounds and stuff between the 3 divisional winners and a wild card. Now next season it's going to be the same way with that, only I want to do like a league format. But like I said, if bunches of promotions and people are pulling out, then that could change how we approach stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of concluding this season at whatever pace people want to, because it's been stretched out long, and I think at some point we do have to think about how we want to approach stuff, because can I waive ending the season if he hits the limit? That's a good question. Oh, you mean retire the promotion retirement's kind of an interesting thing there. I mean, you can retire promotions, but I no one's really done that before. No, not retirement, just stop you. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can stop using them at any time. Like LJC, he's not going to be doing shit with GSW and UPW for the rest of the season. Yeah, you certainly can. The only thing there is then it kind of leaves it up to, it's just, yeah, you certainly can. I just don't know how quickly the other promotions are going to hit that. Well, it's approximately like if a like because here's the thing, like if people are putting in booking while I'm calculating popularity points, someone just so happens to hit 250 while stuff is being sent in, then I'm going to be pretty flexible on that. I'm not going to be like a hard ass about it. It's just a good like stopping point, like okay, we need to start winding stuff down here, because no one's because that's really the best way to do it. And I thought 250 would be reasonable, because I looked at it, because originally I thought I would do 200, but then I saw 140. I'm just like, that's a bit soon. So 250 sounds about right, but I don't know. I mean, because here's the thing: we could plan this stuff, and then I don't know, like Hank the Tank could book a big show, and it earns him tons of credits and popularity points, and it kind of boosts him to closing the season. So it's hard to predict how it's going to go. 3, 20, 15, 8, 1, 2, 5. Yeah, I get you there. I mean, it. I mean, yeah, you certainly could. I mean, yeah, because I'm not. I don't really plan on doing a lot with IGW. I kind of want to do more with HWH because if we do have to do something with TWN, I would like to establish AWH a little bit more. Because I will say this, if it does come down to it, I probably will say, all right, guys, we're gonna have to go back to using one promotion. Because having few people have multiple promotions, it doesn't balance itself well. But we'll see, because for all I know, we get to December and like everyone's back in it hardcore, and then it could be business as usual. So it's hard to say. But yeah, and also in the benefit of hindsight, I kind of wish I did something different with this developmental stuff because the idea of it's great on paper. It's just, it's just I wish there was just enough where people could do developmental shows on their own, or or at the very least like maybe make the main roster stuff more smaller. Because one thing I have thought about a lot is maybe making, because a lot of promotions have had wrestlers since we first started like seasons ago, and I don't know, I kind of think it would be interesting to have it where you can't have a wrestler permanently unless they're a Hall of Famer. Like you have to have Sky switch no matter what. Yeah, he is. Yeah, because like over time, there's been a few people that have joined with the wrestler that kind of stuck around a little bit, but no one stuck around long enough to even get close to qualifying to actually have a promotion. Yeah, yeah, exactly, and yeah, that's kind of the thing. I was kind of hoping that it'd be a great place for newer people to kind of experiment a bit and get a taste of it without the commitment. But unfortunately, we just haven't had the traffic like I was hoping so. Oh yeah, XAW. What am I thinking? Mai and Kula. All right. Yeah, because if we were getting like at least because if we had at least two or three like very in it individuals in the indies, that would add a lot. But unfortunately, the type of thing we do isn't exactly a common thing, so I don't know how big the audience is for the type of thing we do. Because a lot of people who do like e-feds and stuff, they just do it all on their own. Like they don't do it with anybody. They just do their own thing. They post stuff on occasion or a few videos, but it's all just them. And I've thought about doing stuff like that, solo projects on my own, but I don't know. I just think it's a lot more fun doing it with people because you can have stuff, you can have like conversations and like a dialogue and stuff and bounce things off each other. It's just harder to, it's just because some people I read book their own shows and storylines and just watch it play out, and that does sound like fun, but I don't know. I kind of like the idea of not knowing what's going to happen. I kind of want that surprise. I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, this happened exactly how I planned. And I'm watching this and I'm going to write this whole script down that only I know about. I'm going to watch it play out on my own. I don't know. It's just thinking about it just makes me think this is a lot of work just for me. And some people, it's great. They love that shit, and that's great. But for me, if I'm gonna do that much, I kind of want to do it with people because I feel like there's just more to like bounce off, and I don't know. It's just one of those things, I guess, but it's just me. Because I will say this though, if it was the kind of game that gives a lot back, like you put a lot in and it gives you a lot back, then that's different. But with a game like this, doing what we do, you kind of need people with it. You can't really do that kind of stuff with a game like this because the game is very match focused. There's like no storyline stuff. Mai and Kula, Barbs. All right, let's see how this goes. That's kind of the only that's the and I can't even say it as it's a con of the game because this game is based on Japanese wrestling and Japanese wrestling isn't as story driven as American wrestling. It's more just match stuff. So it's just one of those things where you kind of have to, and you certainly can. It's just the less the game gives you for story stuff, the more you have to give on your own, and doing that on your own can be exhausting if you don't have people doing it with you.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But there is a new wrestling game coming out next year that I'm hoping would kind of fill that void a little bit, the Ultra Pro Wrestling game. But it's still a long ways away though. 2K24 kind of can, but the only real issue with 2K24 is that despite it being under WWE, there's not really a ton of story stuff in it as well. I mean, there's cutscenes and stuff. It definitely gives you a lot of stuff there, but you still gotta like fuel stuff. And it's the same instance of it's just funner with people than it is on your own. At least for me. Some people, like I say, they have plenty of fun of doing that on their own, but every time I try to do that on my own, I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm just doing all this just for me. And I don't know. It's like if I'm gonna do stuff like that just for me, I kind of want the game to meet me more than halfway. And unfortunately, newer wrestling games, they don't tend to do that. The only wrestling game that does a lot of that is Wrestling Empire, like M-Dicky Games. Those games, like you could do it on your own and you can have so much fun just shooting the shit and stuff.
5 minutes gone.
Thing to check.
Yeah.
Surprising us would be nice. Oh yeah, I think chat doubled again, I don't know. Fire Promoter, kinda. I mean, I will say this, there's a lot of cool elements in Fire Promoter. Story stuff, every once in a while, you have a prompt that says, hey, these two wrestlers have been butting heads, book them in a main event to get a high rating, and the audience wants to see this. That's really it. You don't get cutscenes or anything. Because the genesis of TWN was when we were reviewing Fire Promoter. Because we were reviewing Fire Promoter, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? You know, if I could do all this in like general mode, and if I could just do a few things with a few people and just organize stuff myself, we could just do Fire Promoter multiplayer style. That's kind of what led to TWN. There's certain things in Fire Promoter you can't do in open mode though, that is nice. The only thing with Fire Promoter though is that once your promotion kind of gets the hang of stuff, even on the hardest difficulty, it's kind of hard to lose. You're kind of just coasting at that point. And it's not easy to get there, but it does happen. I will say this though, I love that the mode has stakes though, because if you fail, you're done. It's just would be nice if it was a little bit more. It would be nice if it was a tiny bit more fleshed out, because there's certain quirks in that mode that aren't in open mode that can be frustrating. For example, like having all your matches on your card have to be like the same match type. You can't diversify match types. You don't have like battle royals or anything like that. Like, you're kind of limited. You can't introduce new belts. You have to steal them from other promotions if you want more than you got. You know, just stuff like that. But I mean, if you do mods on Steam or PC, you could probably break that up even a lot more. Do a lot more with it, but that's a lot of setup work. Oh man, the chat just keeps doubling up here. Oh, ripcord me. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it would be nice to have more story stuff, but that's here's the thing though. That's kind of why I started BW, because I wanted something that was just more story stuff, because after a while doing Fire Pro stuff, you start to kind of miss story elements, because no matter what promotion you're in, story stuff does occur and it does make a difference. And when you go so long without that, it kind of makes it tough to kind of keep the momentum going a little bit. Roll up. 1, 2. Wrestling all story. I mean, you can criticize, you can mock it all you want, and I certainly have for a long time, but, you know, it works. Oh, she tapped before we hit 15. Hula with the win. $90, best match of the night. But I will say this though, between the two promotions, oh, that reminds me, I did hear that AEW's made a deal with Warner Brothers, and their stuff is going to be streaming on Max pretty soon. And their pay-per-views are going to be available at a discount at Max. A discount. So, you know, you still got to pay for them, but I don't know how big the discount's going to be. I mean, and I heard some people say they're doing it better than WWE is right now, and I'm just like, I don't know about that, because yeah, I mean, you got Raw on Netflix and you got Peacock with their own stuff. I kind of get that it's kind of sucks, it's kind of split up a little bit, but you can still watch the pay-per-views for free though. And that's all that matters to me, in all honesty. Oh yeah, totally. Because here's the thing, like, I'm not gonna watch the weekly shit. It's too long, and I just don't. Yeah. And that's the only thing there. I just don't have the time. You know, and I love what they're doing in WWE, but I don't want to watch like 11 to 12 hours of it weekly. I'm not there with that. One's for wrestling. Yeah, exactly. Well, but that's the thing though. It's just too much, you know? And I feel like the best way multiple shows work is when you do like roster drafts, because then you have an incentive to watch the shows, because you got these divisions and these titles and these wrestlers. It just gives you a better reason, and it makes you pick. Like, okay, I'm going to watch Raw because they have these guys, or I'm going to watch SmackDown because they have these guys. I just think that, and they kind of do that now for the most part, but because I get why though, because I get the trash talk with the roster split though, because it's, for a while it was handled pretty shittily, and I think. And here's the thing too. I also think that roster splits, if you're gonna do separate brand stuff, I think it works better when it's more than two. I think when it's just two, it becomes kind of monotonous after a while. I think when you have three or four, I feel like you definitely get the feel of like territory competitiveness, kinda. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think the only guys that should be able to move back and forth is guys that have a title that isn't assigned to a show, like the world title or something like that. I think those are the only guys that should be able to go back and forth. If their title belongs in the show, they stay on the show. And I get they wanted, do fun stuff, and you're like, hey, look, Randy Orton signed a new contract so he can appear on both or whatever. And I get that, but it's like but it's such a Pandora's box, because at some point you just stop giving a shit, And I think that's the biggest problem when Vince was in charge is that when he got older, he just got so ADD about everything and he just didn't commit to anything long term. So you could have a roster draft and a few months later, oh fuck that shit. I'm just gonna book shit however the fuck I want it because I'm fucking the fucking boss. No, they won't. And here's the thing. I know a lot of people criticize the amount of belts, and I get it, but the problem I have though with them like having less belts is the fact that they do so many long-term stories now that if you got a belt tied up with the story between two or three wrestlers, the other four or five guys that are in the main event aren't even going to touch the title. And I'm sorry, but I think if you're going to have long-term stories, I think you need a lot of belts because you need to like give people a chance to do storyline because I know not every storyline needs a belt, but there's only so many storylines you can do that don't involve a belt because it's wrestling. That's all what it's all about is being the best, and the best way to measure being the best is a belt. And you can't really do that if you're constantly trying to find other shit for everyone to do because you have a year long plan between two or three wrestlers for one title. I mean, it's you just can't do it. They did it in the hell even in the past. They had lots of titles. If you look back to territories, lots of promotions had more than one belt. Seth and yeah, exactly. But I get it. I think yeah, I get that. The way I've always looked at it is that yeah, I I think the reason why they had the two was because they saw their roster and like, okay, we got two guys that are championship material, but if we only have one guy as a champion and the other guy stuck in mid card, it's gonna be the service. And here's the thing too. I think if you had a smaller roster, you definitely don't need two. But with the type of rosters they have, the I get having two. Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. And here's the other thing to think about too. If you only have one world title, they're gonna bounce between shows. That's a lot of traveling for a guy and for the champion. And I think they made the two not only for that, but also so that the champions don't have to travel around as much. Because if you have one champion, you have Raw in this city and SmackDown in that city or whatever, then that's a lot of work for that guy. And if you're going to have them held the belt long term, then that's a lot. And I think that's why they did the two. And to be honest, I don't really mind it if the roster demands it because want to work Tuesdays. That is true though. That is true. I gotta calculate the show here, but yeah, that it is true because that's the problem when you bring in the another world title though is that the media thought is, oh, here's something because no one. I don't know. I mean, that's another reason why I don't also like long title reigns because if you get tied up with a Roman Reigns situation, then there's nothing for anyone to do. So you have to like bring in like another world title because you need something for other main eventers to go after because when it's so obvious it's just gonna be Reigns and Cody for a year, like what the fuck is all the other main eventers are gonna do? Chase after the US title? I mean, come on. The real one. The way I've always saw it, well, back in the day when they first started, the way I saw it was the WWE Championship was the champion that Vince wanted at the time, and the world title was like someone who should be champion but can't be champion at the moment because it's occupied by other things. That's the way I've always saw it, and I think it's kind of like that here, but because here's the thing, it's like Gunther definitely could be WWE champion, but in order for him to be it, you have to take it off Cody, and you can't really take it off Cody right now, so you just have him be world champion. So that way, both guys are top world champions. Yeah, because if you're a WWE champion, you have the WWE label. I feel like when you have the title split that way you can see what multiple teams or wrestlers can do with the title all at once. Because the more wrestlers you have, the more guys you have to see who could do well with the belt. And if you have a huge roster but keep the belt amount small, then it can be really, really tough to really see how people can do with the belt. And plus, you're going to have egos. You're going to have a lot of people say, well, I want a title. I want to run with the belt. But what are you going to do? The Royal Rumble they kind of did, but not. I don't know how many like one-on-one matches those two have had, but I imagine that could happen at some point. Maybe I don't know. I know at Survivor Series they used to do like world title, WWE title champion versus each other. So the show got a 79 here. That opening match kind of dragged it down a bit. But yeah, I I think the amount of belts should justify the roster about the big rosters you have. Like with WWE having the roster it does, I think the amount of yes, it was a good show. It did have a lot of fun stuff. I think yeah, I do hope to do more fire do get that Legends League going soon. I just got to try to convert some guys and see how far I can go before snapping. But yeah, I mean, I will say this too is that if AEW just divided their roster between their shows up and the belts too, like WWE does, I think it'd make things a hell of a lot easier for them in terms of organizing guys, booking guys, developing consistency, but they don't want to do it, so we just got a mess. And that's the thing with WWE is that at least things with WWE they try to be cohesive without, while still being a little spontaneous. Um but yeah, I think the key with managing a lot of belts is one, um, making sure you have like a group of people around it that could compete for it reasonably, and I think a lot of it too is the gimmick stuff, like the speed title, the tag. They a lot of those titles don't really aren't really tied around gimmicks in WWE, but everything makes sense because if you look at their roster and the amount of belts they have on the show, it becomes obvious that there's a lot of guys that deserve a title run that aren't going to get a title run anytime soon. Like Bronson Reed, like the match he had with Braun Strowman. Hell, Braun Strowman even. Like, when are those guys going to sniff a title? You know? And it's like, I'm not saying that they need to hold it on for like eons or anything like that, but when you have guys like that work their asses off and deliver so much, like, the reward should be a title run. That's the way it probably should be. Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it has to be like a Herculean like thing. I'm just saying that like the quality deserves recognition. Cause cause at some point, like, cause you don't want to go through your whole career and not win a title there. Like, cause then what are you doing there? Like in a kayfabe standpoint, like, the point of any wrestler is to be the best, and the only way to measure who's the best is the belt. And And if you're going to go a long time without even touching a belt or even sniffing an attempt, then what are you doing there for? What's the point? Like, that's the way I see it, at least. And I just think that like the Jey Uso win was long overdue. And that's kind of why I kind of wish they had lower card titles, like a European hardcore title or something like that. Something where you can have exchange hands often and no one's going to give a shit. Because even when people, even that IC title hand change after a month and a half with Braun Breaker, people like were crying about it and complaining about it. And I don't know, it's just like, to me, it's like at some point we're gonna have short title reigns. Not every title reign's gonna be a fucking year. Yeah, yeah, he's doing a lot better now. Yeah, a TV title or something like that. And I and and here's the thing too. I would say like have it be like, I mean, I don't want to say have one per show, but I feel like you almost have to because I feel like from a practical standpoint, I feel like if you look at the rosters, like there's a lot of guys that haven't touched anything. And I'm not saying every guy deserves a title run, but here's the thing, in current day wrestling, you don't have jobbers, you know? Like the idea is anyone on that roster can earn something. So if you're going to operate like that, then anyone can contend for even the lowest of titles. Yeah, for a little bit, and then they're going to and then for a little bit, and Raw's going to be 2 until they go to Netflix, and then they're going to be 3. Yeah, I think SmackDown, I think what they're trying to do, because the thing with SmackDown is that it leads to like big pay-per-views. So they want that extra hour to help lead into pay-per-view. So you could have a 3-hour SmackDown that leads into like WrestleMania or Royal Rumble or SummerSlam or Money in the Bank. That way, yeah, exactly. Like, because I know I bring this up a gajillion times before, but imagine if during the Attitude Era they didn't have a European or hardcore title. If they didn't have those lower card titles, if they just had IC, Tag, and World, you wouldn't see the D'Lo European title runs or see the Crash Holly 24/7 rule. You would miss out on all that stuff if you didn't have those type of titles for that area of the card, you know. And that's the thing, because those guys did great with those titles, but they would never do world stuff. And that's kind of why, based on the roster size, I don't mind a lot of titles, because you could have a lot of guys do great stuff with titles, but they may not be main event material. But unless you test it out and see. Because even if you give them a belt and they're still not main event material, they can still do great stuff with it. Yeah, exactly. That'd be perfect. Yeah, 24/7. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I would do 24/7 hardcore, because you can't really do hardcore now like you could back in the day. And I kind of get that because safety, and I'm fine with that. I'm not going to complain about that kind of stuff. But although I will say I have heard a lot of rumors that once they switch to Netflix, they're going to go all out on Raw. Like all out, which is going to be fun to see. Yeah, exactly. I kind of That's what I'm hoping for, is stuff going back to more of that, because exactly they have been. And I know AEW's been doing that kind of stuff since their infancy, but I don't know. I think with WWE there'd be a lot more focus and purpose to when they do that kind of stuff, and I don't think AEW really does it like that. And I know I'm talking a lot of shit for something I don't really watch hardly at all, but when everyone says stuff like it, then you almost have to think it's true. Um, but yeah, streaming schedule. Tomorrow's gonna be Madden 05. That's gonna be earlier in the day. Um, Fire Pro stuff, I don't know when the next Fire Pro thing's gonna be. Probably not Saturday. Sunday is possible for stuff. Come on, Reddit. Oh no, it was an awful match. I heard a lot of people said it was gonna be great. I will say this about AEW compared to WWE. I do think their match quality is more diverse in results than WWE is. I would say if I had to pick just a match compared to the two, I probably only slightly lean to AEW, but not by a lot because WWE still puts on great matches. Cheering set of moves. But here's the thing, though, because the thing, you know what, I actually think Ricochet going to AEW is actually a pretty good fit because that's kind of him. He's a highlight reel. Yeah, I get that. I do. I think the thing with wrestling is it's almost like a theater play. Like you have to make people want to buy it despite the obviousness. Because I remember when me and my sister, oh, it was years ago, we were visiting Chicago and we got to see Aladdin on Broadway. And yeah, it's obviously a play, but when you commit so much to stuff, to everything, like it's there's a magic there that lets you buy into it so much. And wrestling can do that a lot like that, but you really got to get people invested in it. And it can be tough. That's why stories in wrestling are so important. And I'm all for dream matches. I certainly am. But if like literally like half to 80% of your card is dream matches for a lot of pay-per-view events and stuff, then it's kind of whatever, because it's like, it's a great match and then you go on to the next match. And because despite the efforts of people, there's a lot of great wrestling matches, but how many of great wrestling matches do wrestling fans remember? You know, because you can have a great wrestling match, but if you don't have a double turn or blood in the face trying to win or underdog victory, it kind of mutes it a little bit. Pro wrestling. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the way I see it with AEW is that I just think they lack an identity. I just think Tony Khan lets everyone do whatever they want, and you have some guys do New Japan like stuff with the tournaments and league stuff. Excuse me. You have some guys doing like WWE light. You have other guys trying to do something else, like whatever the fuck Chris Jericho does with the learning tree. I mean, there. I feel like that kind of stuff worked when they were doing stuff WWE wasn't doing. But now that WWE is doing all of that kind of stuff, it just makes AEW look like kind of like, I don't know, like a sore loser a little bit. I don't know. It's just the way I see it with AEW is that, and here's the thing too with AEW as well is that if they just like, yeah, oh yeah, totally, I totally agree with that. If it wasn't for Triple H, AEW would still be doing well. But the problem AEW has is and this is, I feel like this is their biggest crutch. They built their whole identity around being anti WWE, and the worst part about that is that they still haven't let it go. They're still holding on to that, and it just makes them look like that cool kid from high school that just won't let it go. Especially especially when like you have like the big, I know I've said this example before, but but especially when you have like the big bully that changes their ways and everyone like loves and respects them, and you still have that kid that still keeps calling shit on them even though they're not like that anymore. So now like the kid that used to be cool is now like not cool because they just won't move on from shit. That's what AEW reminds me of, kind of. They just won't move on from shit. And I don't know, I just wish they just say, okay, we're this, and this is what we are, and this is how we're gonna run things. Will it be always like that? No, but that's who we are. I kind of wish they would do that at some point, because no matter what promotion is, every promotion has an identity. And it may not be definable in the sense, they may not be strictly hardcore or something, but it's something. Like TNA has an identity. I mean, it may not always be consistent, but when someone says TNA, you know what that is. When someone says WWE, you know what that is. Hell, older promotions like WCW and ECW, you know what they are. And AEW, even though they're still young, they don't have something like that. I mean, even if they ripped off another promotion, like they say, oh, we're just going to be New Japan, but in America, I would accept that over anything else, because at the very least, they just, because they might as well be, because Tony Khan can't get his nose out of the Bay of Japan for any reason or anything. I mean, good lord, like even calling the four pillars of AEW, and like one or two of them are already leaving for WWE or whatever. I mean, yeah, way to read the room. Yeah, I just think right now, if I was looking there, and if Tony, like if I was if that was my job, is to fix wrestling promotions, and Tony asked me what should he do to try to be more competitive with WE, I would just tell him, you got to pick something. You got to pick a type. You got to develop an identity that isn't bashing WWE, because right now it's just a crapshoot. And to be honest, he should start focusing more on homegrown talent. And I think there's only certain guys he picked up from WWE that I think would work in AEW. And I don't think the use of veterans, oddly enough, has never been a problem in WWE. I mean, in AEW. I just think that if we're gonna really, really look at things and think about it, I think the fact that they have all these titles and all this stuff going on, but yet no one can keep track of stuff. Not really. I just think that at some point you kind of have to look at everything and go, all right, we got to nuke everything and start over fresh. And it is. It very much is, because because it's a combination of what everyone wants to do and what Tony Khan wants to do. You know, and that's a problem. And I will say this about Vince: despite all his nasty flaws and all the mistakes he made, he was the fucking boss. You know, when he said goes, if he wanted stuff done a certain way, it was done a certain way. If not, they were fired. And he developed an identity. And even if you hate that identity won, and it's made millions. And that's, I think, the key to a successful wrestling promotion is an identity. And it's not necessarily about like what kind of wrestling you do or what style of wrestling. It's about consistency. It's about saying this is who we are, and saying that nonstop. And AEW doesn't do that, because then you have times where, hey, we're going to do this thing from New Japan, or hey, we're going to do this spin on something from WWE, even though we hate WWE. Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned this before, but I read somewhere that it was brought up to Tony to do a roster split because they thought it would help, and Tony was so against it. Like people were like he was very much anti show split. and he just wanted everything to stay as is, like just have stuff whenever, whatever. And it's just so messy because the crazy part is it's not like AEW has more titles than WWE. They may have it by a count of one or two because they have that, triple, that six-man tag title thing. But the problem is they don't organize anything. Everything's just all over the place. And yeah, and it's like, and they do the Ring of Honor stuff, and I heard Ring of Honor was decent, solid, not anything too bad there, but they have a whole other account for that. There's just no uniformity. It's just Tony just, being like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to do everything. Oh, you guys can do whatever you want, but I'm going to do everything." And I don't know. It's just, and I hate bashing AEW because AEW on paper has a lot of cool stuff, but and they're new, and I liked having competition for WWE that's for a while was like copyable. But the problem I have with them now is that they're not evolving. They're really not. Like outside of maybe like more shows and more pay-per-views, they're really not evolving that much. Like they're not like moving toward like a tone or like or like an era or anything that you could say, "Oh yeah, this promotion's growing and changing. This is going to be a good place for this and this." It's more like, "Hey, we're still same old AEW, just more titles and more of everything. So, come on over." And who knows what we'll do with you. That's just the way it feels sometimes, because it's like, because I want to like AEW, and there's still good stuff there, specifically anything that revolves around what the roster does. I mean, there's good stuff. It's just, I just wish it was presented and executed in a way that felt organized and well thought out, as opposed to like, just like, "Hey, we're just gonna just do these things and flash ya and be, look at all this stuff," and then it's over. And it's just like, and I know some people claim that AEW does have storylines, and they technically do. And that's saying they don't have good storylines. It's just I don't know. It's just, if they're gonna, it's just that's the problem with doing a little bit of everything, is that it doesn't let anything really take hold. Because the thing with WWE is that, yeah, they may handle their roster a little differently, and yeah, it may be longer term, and you may not see people do things quickly or right away, but but at the very end of the day, there's a lot of story stuff going on, and it feels well put together and smart. Like, I can't name a lot of mistakes in the Triple H era, stuff that I would do differently. Um, I mean, there's been some pay-per-views this month, this year, that's kind of been a little botch heavy, which I can't fault anything for that. And yeah, some guys held on to the belts a bit longer than I think they should have been. And there's definitely some guys I wish would get a title run that aren't, or probably won't anytime soon. But overall, there's not a lot I can complain about WWE. I mean, the only thing I could fault is maybe I'm not always in a WWE mood, but that's it. Yeah, exactly. It's not Triple H's fault. It was just a quirk. Yeah, that kind of stuff is just random shit that happens sometimes. You can't really fault it for that. It was just a freak. It's just a series of freak things. It happens. Yeah, but and I don't know. It's just, I just see that AEW roster. I'm like, man, you could do so much cool shit with this, but the problem is everyone only wants to do certain things. Like there's guys from New Japan that just want to do New Japan stuff, and there's guys from the Indies that just want to do indie stuff, and there's guys like John Moxley that just want to do hardcore stuff, and then you got the ladies kind of all over the place. You don't know what's going on with them. I mean, you got a upper mid card title, but you don't have any lady tag matches. You don't have any lady stables. Guy. Yeah, he's an indie guy. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just wish they pick something. Even if there's something was, hey, we're gonna showcase. I just wish Tony Khan will go up to the TV screen and just state like what they're all about, and stick with it. You know, if their whole thing was, hey, we're gonna be a mixture of all these different styles, that's fine. But then present it in a way like that. Like be like, okay, this is this title. It's gonna represent these kind of wrestlers, and that's the kind of thing we're gonna have. Like if you're gonna have like guys that are, you know, New Japan Japanese style driven, then have them all in in that continental title division where their whole thing is stats and points and stuff, and just have that. If you're gonna have like indie guys, then have an indie division with like a hard with whatever title or whatever it's gonna represent there. You know, even if you want to do a mixture of styles, like there's nothing wrong with that, but commit to it. You know, do it in a way that makes sense and has people be like, okay, this is what I need to watch to get that, and not mix it all up. Because even during the roster split in the early WWE era, I mean, you had one show had hardcore title, one show had the cruiserweight title, or one show had the cruiserweight title, one show had the women's title. So if you wanted women's wrestling, you watch Raw. If you wanted cruiserweight wrestling, you watch SmackDown. You know, it wasn't always balanced out like that, but you had a rough idea of what you like and where you can get it. What AEW doesn't do it like that. If they would just sit down and be like, okay, if we're going to do all these different styles and have wrestlers do these kind of stuff, we need to organize in a way that makes it easier for people to watch and get invested in without getting frustrated. Because what if you were a guy that just wanted like the indie stuff of AEW, but you get an indie match, and then you have to then you have like a bunch of like New Japan stuff, and then you got another indie match. You know, it's not presented in a way that I feel like is fan friendly. It feels like they're trying to. It's like in that scene in The Grinch where he's in the chair and everyone's force feeding him all those different foods. That's what it feels like sometimes when you watch an AEW, and it feels like they're trying to force feed you all these different wrestling styles, and then chime in. WWE doesn't do that for you, and it's just like, you know, it's just too much. It's just too much. All right, all right. I went well beyond the length of what the shows typically is, but but yeah, it's just overall, I do want to love AEW, and there's times where it's like, yeah, this was great stuff, but I just wish they just sit down and just think to themselves, how are we gonna do this thing? Yeah. But yeah, like I said, streaming schedule wise, tomorrow I'm gonna do some Madden stuff. That's gonna be earlier in the day, like afternoon or something like that. So but outside of that, Saturday there's probably not gonna be anything. I'm gonna be working. Sunday there'll be stuff, but I'm not quite sure what's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be Fire Pro stuff, might be more Madden stuff. I'm really gonna try to like keep up with certain things, and also Legends League stuff and see how far I can go before cracking. Um, but yeah, overall though, that's gonna do it for this specific stream here, guys. Thanks for watching. In case you guys want to chat with anyone at the Camping Company, you didn't want to use the YouTube comment section, we do have a couple options. First one is we have a Discord channel. You can find a link to that in the about page / about section of our channel. We also have a community tab in our channel as well. You can access that anywhere at any time. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the videos, and have a good day.